Are we living truth? Well, let's look at it both ways. Yes, and possibly. Yes, we are all living truth. That is what we are. We are truth. But not in this human form state. Not in this soul state. Not in this form state, this mind state. We're living truth when we realize we are the looking from the place of reflection. We are this big mirror. We are this whole single mirror, reflecting ourselves everywhere. Are we living out this truth? Second part. Sometimes. In fact, we are living it the whole time, but we're not experiencing it the whole time. You see? We only believe we are living truth when we understand fully we're living truth. When we know exactly we're living truth. Because truth cannot be an imagined thing, a belief thing, a hope thing. So, when you understand what truth is, you'll understand that you're living it periodically. And the times you're not living it, you're not meant to be living it. Let me explain. When you're doing something, when you're painting, when you're gardening, and you're not really interested in what it's going to look like in the future, what's going on in your head about your haircut next week, you're simply in the moment of doing this act and you're not aware. Even presence is gone. You're simply moving with the rake or the shovel or the pruning or the paintbrush. You're simply the conductor of some music show with no orchestra. Mind is the orchestra, you see. We don't want mind. You are living truth. You are living the truth. When you try and understand things, when you try and judge it at the end, when you try and analyze it and value it out of truth, you've created separation between you and the garden. You've created separation between you and the painting. When you see a person, a 95-year-old woman, doing cartwheels down the street, and you don't understand why she's doing it, and you're not even questioning, you're simply witnessing something that's going on. You're both living the truth. The woman also does not understand why she's doing cartwheels at 95. When you go and you try, oh my God, I have to ask her, is she able? Is she capable? Should she be doing that? You are out of truth. You have created a separation between you and this beautiful woman doing cartwheels. Judgment, preferences. When you witness something, a musical event, and you don't judge, you don't try and separate the band, you're looking at the whole event and you're totally lost in music or in the performance. Truth. You have become one with the performance. When you're not living truth, you are separate, you're judging, you're analyzing, you're valuing. It is also important to do that because it's not your time to experience truth. When the judge says, I want the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, that was the ultimate God speaking. When you go down there I want to experience the whole truth. I don't want to experience bits of truth. And when you are doing the garden with no really understanding that you are gardening or doing anything, but you are simply in the moment, the movement, God loves you because you are the whole truth. You are giving this God the whole truth. That's why monks spend most of their day simply doing things without really any purpose. They don't really know. There may be some purpose of eating the vegetables at the end, which is very, very important. I remember a story. It's not a story, it's truth. I remember speaking to this professor once, a long time ago, and he had discovered something brilliant. And this professor was saying, the moment I discovered it was absolutely, I can't explain how I felt. The discovery was not planned. The discovery suddenly happened. I was doing something without really knowing why I did it. I was just messing about. And then suddenly this thing happened. I said, wow, I've discovered something and I never really knew it. The professor was living in truth. He was doing things, just doing things. Then result. He says, it was beautiful bliss. I've discovered things in the past, but I've planned how to discover them. I've tried this, I've tried that, I've done this, I've done that. And it always takes the pleasure out of the final discovery. I says, wonderful. He says, but it was ruined. I said, what do you mean it was ruined? He says, to me it was over. To me I'd discovered something. To me it was wonderful. The experience was bliss and I loved what I'd done. But it was about how I did it without knowing I did it. And then someone said, you have to discuss with students how you did this. So then I had to revert to this mind and try and find out, and without telling lies, try and recover the steps of doing it. It was horrendous because I had to write things down and do all this theories and present it on this board. And when I delivered it to students, they all stood up at the end and applauded, but I thought that was absolutely untrue. What I should have said was, I don't know why I discovered it. I don't know how it was discovered. But I couldn't, you see, because I would have felt a fraud. You see, truth is coming as false. There's no difference between opposites, you see, they're the same thing. He was living truth, experiencing truth, discovered something wonderful. But it was not about the discovery, it was how the discovery came to be. He says 50 lectures after, I hated it. I hated what had happened. I kind of pacified the professor and said, you know what, but it sounds like you were attached to this wonderful feeling of euphoric discovery. Oh yes, I was. I says, you must move on from that. Yeah, I realize that now. So delivering this false ways was not lying, because the mind simply took the professor back to point one and took it through the stages. Because mind will always help the truth out. Mind is always here for the truth. And by delivering the students, you opened up their lives. They don't know what happened, and they may follow suit, because the way you present it is the way it was done. You were just reliving your sudden, unplanned discovery. So when you're dancing in your room and you don't know why you're dancing, you're simply dancing. There's no music on. and you're dancing or you're singing. When you're not realizing what you're doing, you are living this, experiencing this truth. But when mother comes in, father comes in, what's the noise? What are you doing? You are now separate, you see. Mind has come in to judge, analyze, value, and question. But it's fine. Because what father or mother is really saying is, you've had your share of truth. Okay? Now go. Do some chores. And when father and mother leaves the room, they start dancing and singing, you see. We are living truth, whole truth, but we are unable to experience it collectively at the same time. So we share it. So really, when you're not living truth, when you are focusing on mind being taken on journeys, it's not truth, but it's to give someone else the space. That's why enlightenment has to be passed, you see. You have to allow everything to pass. You've had your share, like the food on the table. That is why I offer this to you. I am quite prepared to invite mind back in about past and future, to give you a share of this living truth that you are. But you don't have to be awakened in enlightenment to experience it. The problem in the world today that causes suffering and illness is that all this falseness, this subtle kind of truth, is suffocating what you call creativity, the allowance to do things without judgment, without analysis, without value, and without questioning why you're doing it. And even if you don't question, someone else will question. At work, you're not allowed to do your work without someone saying why you're doing it, what's the purpose, what are you going to do next, why didn't you do that bit properly, why is that done, you see. We're suffocating and stifling with no trust. There is no trust in the world today. So I say, go. Even though you don't have a certificate, do some gardening, do some painting. Don't say, I can't do it. Don't say, what am I going to do with it when I'm finished with it? Will I sell it? Will I frame it? Will the garden be beautiful? Simply be lost in the doing, and you are experiencing your living truth. Everything is perfect when you see with true eyes, when you experience with true feelings, sensations, emotions. Everything is perfect. So those who are not living truth, those who are suffering with the mind, it's not their time, but they have the option to move out of that. But it's up to these enlightened ones to offer what is available. That is why I always offer to you, take what I am. Take what we are as one. How can I offer? It's yours anyway. Namaste.